Hi, Scott from Digital Fish with a how-to on targeting kingfish on live Kahawai. Off the rocks, you can use these techniques for off the boat as well.
Out on the rocks today doing some live baiting for kingfish, so I'm going to run through my rig that I've been using for probably the last 20 or 30 years. Caught plenty of kingfish on it, lost a few as well, learned a lot of lessons along the way, so happy to give you some tips on how to avoid mistakes and possibly what works best. This isn't like a hard and fast rule of how you must set it up, but if you want a place to start, tried and true. So just started going through the rig. This is the rig that I use. I've talked before about rods and reels. Please check out my other videos for those. They're dedicated to those rigs. So first of all, got the hook. This is a live bait hook. This is a 11 baro live bait mustard hoodlum. These are pretty good value hooks. Live bait hooks tend to be shorter, they have a shorter shank on them. Longer shank hooks, sometimes they can be leveraged out of the fish's mouth, but for a live bait hook, it means that when you put in the live bait, there's less hook for it to carry around as well. You do want to try and match the size of the hook to the live bait. Generally anything over half a kilo or sort of a kilo more of a live Kahawai, 10 baro, 11 baro is pretty good. They can survive no problem. And Kahawai, very hardy fish, fairly prolific, easy to catch, and kingfish like to eat them, so they're one of the best live baits you can catch. Piper also very good. I'll do a different section on piper because they need to be treated a bit differently. But if you catch a very small Kahawai, sort of under half a kilo, you may have to adjust your leader strength and the size of your hooks so that it will last longer in the water. You want a good fresh live bait when the kingfish spots it and goes for it. Looking at the leader, I use about a 2.5 metre leader, sometimes up to 4 metres, depending on where I'm fishing. And 100 pound is a very good general strength leader, 130 pounds good. And of course, when you get into really rough terrain, like if you're fishing in spots where there's big rocks in front of you and you know the kingfish are going to be scraping the line across those sorts of obstacles, you may want to go to 150 or 200 pound leader. I generally started about 130. I had been fishing before and kingfish saw my live bait. I think they saw the leader and they just kept on swimming by. When I changed the leader down to about 60 pound or 80 pound, I started to get strikes. So depending on the mood of the kingfish, heavy is good in heavy terrain, lighter is good when the kingfish are shy or suspicious. So about 2.5 metres is a good length to start with. Fluorocarbon is good, it's also a lot more expensive. Generally, just general leader material is good. If you can afford fluorocarbon, by all means get it. It's more abrasion resistant as well. Then we tie it onto the snap swivel and swivel there. You can just use a heavy duty swivel. Make sure it's the right size and it's suitable for heavy line, like 24, 37 kilo line. You don't want one that's just best for snapper fishing. That's not going to cut it and it may fail on you. So I've got a snap swivel here. I can just undo this if I need to at the end of the day and wrap the rig up as it is. I've tied the balloon onto a short section of mono, that's a 6 pound mono, and that's tied onto the lower ring.
Sorry, a quick correction here. The live bait balloon should be tied to the upper ring, to the top swivel. That way, when the bottom swings around or twists, it won't twist the balloon as well. If the balloon is twisting up around the line, it probably means you've tied it onto the lower section of the swivel and not the upper section.
Believe it or not, there is an art to setting up your balloon onto your line. Here's why. You want the connection there between the balloon and the ring, the leader there, you want that to be strong enough to tether the Kahawai so the Kahawai can't break it, but you don't want it so strong the kingfish can't snap it off. Because you want the balloon to wear out the Kahawai so it can't dive down, it can't get away from the kingfish. Kingfish comes and eats it, but if that line is too strong and the kingfish starts to sort of try and smash the Kahawai and eat it and swallow it and there's resistance, sometimes they spit it out. So you want it just strong enough the Kahawai can't break it, but not so strong the kingfish doesn't feel too much resistance. Usually on the strike, that'll smash and pop off. Use fairly decent helium grade balloons. Cheap ones, after you get them out there, after an hour, sometimes they deflate and go small. You have to wind in the Kahawai and try and re-rig again. And that means that the Kahawai can sometimes die on you while you're trying to re-rig. So you want to, first time, make it work and make it work really well. So use 6 pound mono there, attached to the balloon, attached to the lower ring. Sometimes if the Kahawai I've got is, say, smaller, under a kilo, I might even just scrape that line a bit or tie a knot in it so that it breaks more easily. Then use a snap swivel, snap onto the swivel. Then I've got a cat's paw connection onto a bimini twist. So the bimini twist is a loop knot, and then to connect the bimini twist to that swivel, I've used a cat's paw. Now, if you don't know how to tie those knots, that's okay. A simple clinch knot tied really well will work as well from your main line onto that swivel there, then snap swivel, clinch knot there, clinch knot there, clinch knot or uni knot, all three spots, uni, 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 that will also work as well. Okay, if you're just starting out, that'll work. Just make sure you tie them well. Another little tip here, when you tie the leader onto that ring, trim the tag down. Sometimes I find that this spins a lot here and this spins around. If there's a tag there, the balloon gets twisted around and then it starts twisting back onto itself, and it'll start twisting like that, and you don't want that. That means that the line can't pull tight and it'll snap. So that's how I rig up my line. I have tried wind-on leaders. Sometimes wind-on leaders can be quite good, although the balloons tend to twist them up a little bit more. That's the rig, works really well. Depending on your conditions, you can choose heavier or lighter leader, shorter or longer leader. Generally for catching kahawai, 10 bar 11 bar live bait hooks are the way to go. What we're going to do next is catch the kahawai, fingers crossed, and then I'll rig it up and show you how to put the hook in the kahawai and release it. There's an art to both those things. Also, I'll be doing a little rig on if you want to use circle hooks as well. If you want to release your kingfish, if you catch one that's too small, circle hooks are good because they're less likely to injure the fish.
Okay, so we've got a kahawai. Unfortunately it's dead, but we'll just we'll work with that at the moment, just to be able to show you how to hook up and rig a live fish. So here's a little rock pool. Rock pools are great for keeping live bait. If you keep one or two in here, it's good. Just remember, if you're going to choose a rock pool, make sure it's not so big and deep that you can't catch your live bait. I've made that mistake before, but one that obviously they can't escape back to the ocean, and they'll be able to swim around and stay alive. So rock pools are really good. So let's just say we've got our kahawai. I like to have a wet cloth on hand just for handling so they don't thrash around too much. Wrap it up there like so, and then I take the hook. Here's the important part: make sure that the line isn't tangled when you go to do this. So it's all set up nice and free. See, I've got the balloon sitting on my jacket here so it won't spin around, won't pop, and there we go. So when we go to do the hook, don't do it side to side. Do the hook facing forward through the scruff of the neck, like so. You can see there's a little scale there. Make sure there's no scales on the hook, otherwise it may not penetrate the kingfish. Okay, so that way when the kingfish takes it whole, like this, the hook will be facing like this, and when you pull, it'll come up into the mouth of the kingfish. Sometimes what can happen is if you go side to side, hook may bury itself back into the kahawai like that, and that's what you don't want. Okay, so let's use our imagination. The kahawai's alive. Right, then we carefully take it off like so. We're going to take it down to the water, down here. Now just be really careful when you're walking down that you don't stumble on the rocks, you don't trip on the line, and that it doesn't tangle or the fish doesn't fall off. Let's try that again. To be honest, it probably wasn't the best hook. Here we go, through and up like that. Pull the scale off. If it was alive, I wouldn't be putting my finger in his gills. All right, then as we go to put it down, make sure the drag's down and the clicker is on. Right, so then we throw it in like so, right, and he swims off like that. Now just make sure, hold the line up until he swims away so the balloon doesn't go on the rocks, go on the surge and the swell. Some places where waves are really big, you have to be very, very careful. Make sure the balloon doesn't snap off in the wash. That's happened a few times with me, and it's a pain in the backside. So just keep feeding the line out, and you may want them out 20-30 meters, preferably just around the edge of the burley trail. If there's a good reason for them to go further out, if there's some reef out there where a kingfish might be lurking, or a channel, make them go, you can let them go further out, and then you can set it up. You can adjust the tension here just so the kahawai can't pull, but if a kingfish came, he could. Okay, so about there.
There we go, that's how you set it up. And the next thing you're doing is waiting for a kingfish to show up. Always be vigilant with your line, because sometimes the kahawai will swim in and the line will go into the rocks like so, and like this, and the kingfish comes and grabs it and the line's all through the rocks and you lose the fish. So you have to be vigilant all the time to make sure that your line is not tangled in the seaweed up on the rocks, and your live bait swimming around and moving around. If he stops, he's just sitting there for ages and there's no current, a shark might have chopped off half, or he might have just died. So you have to check him fairly regularly. There we go.